Hello and welcome back to our disorganized, organized shit show. Do you call it?
Yes, it's a mixture of everything.
Right?
Organized and disorganized, chaos and
Chaos, yeah.
yeah.
And I want to apologize because my voice is cracking a little bit. Guess it's the benefits of going through puberty. Yeah.
Self-inflicted puberty.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah, exactly. Because I'm like,
Yeah, that's all right. It's okay. Come as you are. This is raw, right?
we're totally raw.
Totally raw.
So thanks for being with us. We're going to talk today about attachment styles.
Woo!
Yeah, some good stuff.
Oh my God. Some good stuff. Yeah.
So Jess, what do you like? What's your attachment style?
Oh God.
Or what do you want to talk about?
Well, we can just dive right into attachment styles. And I don't know I'm sure many people who are probably viewing us know that there are 4 different attachment styles out there, right? So the 4 out there, and correct me if I'm wrong, secure, obviously, which is what we all strive to be in a relationship, and avoidant, and then you have anxious, and then you have, I think they call it fearful avoidant, but there's a few other names for it too, but that's where you're a mixture of anxious and avoidant at the same time. So those are the 4 that we are looking at this point. And I know that when we had touched base on this, that I know I can speak really, really well on anxious because that's what I am. And my anxious has come out quite a bit over the last few, probably month and a half. And it's really kicked in high gear with my anxiety, which I never thought I had, but it all correlates.
That's a newer thing for you.
Yeah. It all correlates so well. And it correlates with the fact that I'm kind of getting into a newish relationship. And so
Congrats.
now, yeah, thanks. So now I'm just like, oh, I know all this stuff and what's going on with me. I don't want to fuck this up. Like, how do I approach a relationship? And everything is coming up for me. Everything.
Yeah.
So
that onion peel. It's like all the different layers are.
It is not peeling. It's fucking just shredding right now.
Oh, is it shredding at this point? Okay.
It's just shredding right now. Oh, it's a mess. But
okay.
So yeah, I guess if you want me to start, I can go ahead, but just for me, and this is going to show up different ways for everybody else. Some people may have some of these things and more so than others. And all the traits of anxious may not actually fit you. And that it's just kind of a generalized statement of where you fall, I guess. So I can tell you that with my anxious attachment style, I fear abandonment big time. So I overperform. Somebody dinging in? Who is that?
I'm sorry, I muted. Aspen's shredding apart a Santa hat. And so I'm like, it's kind of that awkward silence where you're like, shh, stop.
Be quiet.
Yeah, stop. So anyways, we're back.
Yeah. So I fear abandonment. And what that looks like for me is I overperform, which means like I give so much to the relationship and so much to that person because that's what I want. That's what I need. And that's an expectation that's never going to get filled, especially if I don't understand that that's what I'm doing. Correct. And if I can't verbalize that to my partner, right? So when they don't text back right away, when they don't, I don't know, when they don't acknowledge, like, I know this sounds crazy, but like, if I don't get a good morning text, I'm like, frantic. If I don't get a good night text, I get frantic. And it's like, what's going on? Then I go worst case scenario. I'm like, oh, they
Yeah.
found somebody else. I'm out. I'm out. So
That's a lot to sit on. Like, that's a lot to process in your mind.
yeah.
The what if.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are so many effing scenarios that go on in my what if brain. Like, anywhere from they found somebody new, they're talking to somebody else, or they got into an accident. Like, everything goes through my brain. And I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck, this is intense. It's really intense. And if my partner and I get into a tiff, an argument or whatever, and they shut down, that'll trigger that as well. Cause I want to pull them close. They shut down. I want them to open up. I'm like, no, open up. I want to talk. And they're just shut down because, unfortunately my partner is more avoidant. So that's how they deal, is they shut down. And I'm just like, fuck, here we go again.
Yeah. Well, and let me ask you a question, Jess. So when you're in those situations, like, you have those what ifs where if you're not going to receive that text or anything like that, but even in the face to face or even on the phone, and you like a tiff is happening.
Yeah.
Are you thinking those worst case scenarios too, while you're trying to pull them closer to get more information, to talk more? Or did you not really battle the two at the same time?
Oh no, the battle is there at the same time.
Is it there?
Yeah. We will have arguments and he will shut down. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, he's got to leave here soon. Okay. Now I'm like panicking because we're not talking. He's not saying anything. And I'm like, oh, he's gone. He's out. And then he leaves. And I'm like sitting here by myself, like, okay, we're done. The next text is probably going to be, we're done. So, I mean, it's super good to know what your attachment style is, because especially if you and your partner can talk about it, because then they know like what your brain is going through and how to help you through it. But on the flip side, you also, as the individual going through all this crap, you have to learn to self-soothe. And that is so hard to fucking do.
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to turn off that mind.
Yeah. Sitting with yourself to go through that is, that's a lot. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you feel like you've always had an anxious attachment, or do you feel you were ever avoidant or secure or fearful in the past?
I think that there is underlying a tiny, tiny bit of avoidant. And that comes in the form of like when I get the love that I want, like that's when I want to avoid. That's kind of when I want to push away, because I'm just like, this feels weird. I'm not sure if I want this exactly, because it's never really.
Sounds like me.
So there is a little bit under there, but for the most part, I can trace back my anxious attachment very early on to my childhood. I mean, and that's where we typically form our attachment styles, is in childhood, because it's typically formed off the caregiver, right? Your caregivers. And were they available? Were they there? Were they present? Were they, always gone? Even if they were there, were they really there? So it's stuff like that. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, I've been in the anxious seat way back in the day. I feel like now I'm more of an avoidant. It's something we didn't discuss, and I was actually taking notes earlier about this. I think that in the last, let's say 6 years, was I married 6 years ago? Yeah, 6 years ago. So even from then till now, I've never ever been somebody's first choice. So
What?
yeah, like I've always been either the, like, I'm the one they're on the fence about, or they're not comfortable telling like family or friends about me. Like, I mean, I'm talking like this is some fucked up stuff if you think about it.
Yeah.
It's like, sorry, Aspen, she's got to talk. But I think that I used to have such an anxious attachment.
Mhm.
And I always tried so hard in these relationships. And then as I got older and I got married and I dated other ones, maybe they were in situations that they were on the cusp of leaving, but then the choice was between me or someone else. And it was always the other person, right, that got chosen. So I think that that sort of like paved the way to my avoidance style now.
Mm.
And
It's protection. You're using it as protection.
correct. And
Mhm.
but then you think about it and you're like, it's like I kept having the same situation, but with different partners. So at what point am I like, all right, well, something's not adding up here, but is it me? Is it me? Because in my mind, I check off the boxes, right?
Mhm.
But clearly we all have stuff we could work on.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
like every single day. I mean, I could wake up tomorrow and tell you, listen, I got to change how I think about things this way or that
Mhm.
way. It's,
For sure.
but it's like now I'm putting in that work. I'm doing that work. And so
Mhm.
I've remained avoidant. And so if I get into a situation where I find somebody that like maybe crosses all the boxes off for me, I still find some reason not to keep them around.
Mhm.
That's not fair to them,
No.
right?
Right. Yeah. No, it's 100% not fair to them, but it's also not fair to yourself because I mean, you're thinking that the best way to go about this is to actually protect yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And when in all actuality, you could be like keeping yourself from something that could grow you exponentially.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah,
Exactly.
not fair at all.
It's
But
crazy.
right. But this is what comes with this, right? This is what comes with awareness. So now you can hopefully stop yourself and be like, okay, is this part of my habit, my pattern that I typically do to protect myself from getting hurt? Because I'm
Yeah.
not always chosen. I've never been chosen. So,
Do I want to be chosen though? Like now, if I look at my life, do I want to be? And I know that's a shitty way to think about it.
but okay, so here's my take on you. And I've known you for a few, what, 7 months now,
Yeah.
right? So who you are as a person, I know that you want to be chosen. I do. You can 100% see that in you. You can. Are you ready at this point to be chosen? Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not. And that's okay. And that's also making the distinction, right?
Yeah.
Is am I ready to be chosen or am I avoiding the being chosen?
There's the avoidant part. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, I mean, deep down, we all want connection as humans. I mean, we're wired for connection. That's
Yes.
what we know 100%, right? So I think you do. It's just, you're going through so much in your life right now. You're trying to figure out who you are now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is taking the front seat, the driver's seat at this point to any serious connection. So, I mean, maybe right now you just don't want to be.
Yeah. You're probably absolutely right. Probably and absolutely shouldn't be in the same.
Yeah,
You're
they should.
absolutely right.
It's a shit show right here, right?
It's a shit show. Disorganized, organized shit
Yeah.
show.
We do not make sense in here, okay?
Exactly. You can use two contradicting words together. No
we
worries.
don't have to make sense either. That because this is us. This is who we are.
Yeah.
We make
So-
sense to ourselves.
We do sometimes. So let me ask you a question when it comes to this new relationship that you're in, and the avoidant and the
Anxious.
thank you. Why did I
That's
draw a blank?
I don't know.
So it's I think it's so good if you're able to get to a point where you can communicate knowing your attachment styles and where to meet in the middle, to where to see, like, because sometimes you might be able to change that lens that you have as anxious to see where his avoidant is, and then avoidant to your anxious, to where you could maybe meet on like a common ground.
Right.
But I also think that, like, if you've got that relationship where you can communicate your needs, about the fact that you get to this point where you're like stressing, like, is it me? Oh, they found somebody else, and just because everybody wants reassurance. There's no question about that. Some people need a lot of reassurance. Sorry.
Bye, Aspen.
Yeah. Good thing I was wearing shorts.
God, thank God.
Just kidding. I would have been in boxers. I mean, no big deal. It's not like I had my thongs today. But no, I mean, I think it's really good if you can open up that line of communication, because I think that'll help build your relationship.
Oh yeah,
stronger.
And that's the point of, so again, we've talked about this before, but I struggle with all this information that we continue to absorb and we continue to find, because all this information gives us good stuff to think about, but we don't actually, if you're not putting it into practice, then what's the point, right? It just kind of clutters up everything. So so when we look at our attachment styles, they're more of this is how you're showing up when you're in relationship. And it doesn't matter what relationship it is, right? It could be friendship, family, and romantic. But the point is it is meeting in the middle, and it is understanding that, your partner, you want your partner to understand where you're coming from. So it's good to be able to share this, but it's not your partner's full-time job to make you feel better, make you feel secure, right? That's where self-soothing.
That's on you. Yeah.
Right. That's where you say, okay, so I'm feeling this way, so I need to give back to myself. Like, I'm giving this person all my attention because I want this attention that I'm giving them back. Well, why can't I turn that around back on myself?
Yeah.
Right. So while learning attachment styles is great, I just caution everybody to not just make this to-do list and hand it to your partner and be like, here you go, this is my shit, and I need you to do X, Y, and Z in order to make me feel good. No.
But we also can't expect ourselves in others. Like, what we would do is not the same characteristic as someone else.
100%.
Right? Because our genetic makeup's all different.
Yep.
So the things that bring you joy
might
not bring somebody else joy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, my attachment styles, and this is one thing that just blew my mind. And he finally communicated with me. He's like, and I wrote about this in one of my posts. He's like, it's not always about you. I'm struggling with stuff, but you take it on as it's something about you. And I'm like, I know, I'm an overthinker. This is what happens. I am constantly in my brain thinking, oh shit, did I do something? I need to reach out more. I need to connect more because I'm feeling this way. But then he's like, I get it. I understand, but you're pushing me away. And I'm like, holy fuck. So I want this stuff. I need this stuff, but I'm pushing you away. And it's like, this is where we have to turn back on ourselves and be like, I have to figure this out because I
Yeah.
need to be able to soothe myself. But it's still okay to ask for help from your partner as well.
Agreed.
Because they need to understand where you're coming from and not just say, oh, you're fucking crazy. Or
Yeah, or they're
know,
not mind, no one's a mind reader.
right. Right.
So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I read something today that said styles are a way. So your attachment styles are a way of making sense of why we relate in the painful ways we do.
Yeah. Makes
And I was
sense.
just like, fuck. I mean, it makes total sense.
Yeah. Absolutely. Wow.
Yeah. So as avoidant, so let me ask you, let me turn back on you. So
Okay.
as avoidant, so you were anxious in the beginning. Do you think that came from childhood?
Absolutely.
And then you developed the avoidant throughout relationships in your life, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anxious was definitely as a child, and sort of just how I, middle child felt,
Mhm.
and,
Middle
constantly,
child.
yeah, constantly seeking out the attention of my mom,
Mhm.
stuff like that. And so I think I'm just sort of, you know, as I got older, and the relationships I had, I just, I think that also each relationship that we're in sort of like paints this picture, whether or not we want to like, sorry, I think I had a hairball on my face. Sorry. That's awkward. It's like, what? It was part of this newfound stash that's coming in. I don't know.
Yes.
No, but I think that, each relationship we're in paints this picture. And so I think sometimes also we go into these other relationships and we subconsciously have these expectations, or we have these triggering events that occurred in our past relationship that we're allowing. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. I met this amazing girl in March. I mean, she was great. She was perfect. We did the whole dating thing. She made one little comment that normally wouldn't set me off, but I triggered it to like 4 relationships ago. So clearly I need to work on my past, repair myself, repair those triggering events to where they're not going to become a trigger. It was not her fault. She did nothing wrong. It was actually a joke, but I turned it, and it wasn't good, and I think that was, but then I got super anxious after. Like,
Why? Like, what were you anxious about?
because she had pulled back. She had felt, upset. And I was like, you know what? This is something I'm working on. I apologize. And it wasn't good enough. It wasn't right. And so I became super anxious, like checking my phone. I don't check my phone. I was like constant, but then I realized like a couple weeks went by and I was like, that wasn't the right relationship for me. I'm unhealed. I need to fix myself. So I want to get on a different cusp of the attachment. I don't want to be avoidant. Like, I
Right.
want to be secure.
Yeah. I mean, that's the goal for all of us, right?
Right? Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Okay. So they say that we can heal on our own to a certain extent, but they say that relationships are where we actually do the most healing because we are triggered, because that person is going to trigger the shit out of us and bring so much stuff up for us. So when is it that you don't run and that you actually stay and dig in?
Are you asking personally?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
kind of, because I mean, you ran, right?
Yeah.
Ran. I didn't mean that in a bad way, but
No, but you're right. I mean, that's like, yeah. My thing is now when I'm dating is communicating about what's your attachment style? What's a non-negotiable? What's your love language? It's,
yes. Yeah.
because I want to know all of these things
Mhm.
because
So is this a form that you like
yeah, it's an
across
intake
the
form.
table?
An intake form. It's not like, will you be my girlfriend? Check yes or no.
I'm sorry, intake forms are only for coaching, okay?
Oh yeah, sorry. This is gonna be called
intake.
I don't even know. But yeah, so no, but I mean those are great communication starters, because if you notice, if you go on these dating sites, right?
Yeah.
And you're swiping left or you're swiping right, like you're selling yourself in a little bio.
Yeah.
Where, I prefer to meet somebody organically.
Mm-hmm.
And having that communication of, how do you feel about sitting with yourself? How do you feel about, working on yourself? Not working on yourself, because that would be offensive to some if I said, how do you feel about working on yourself? But like, how do you feel about podcasts? Do you read books? Do you journal? I mean, this is the stuff that turns me on. And so having that communication ahead of time is so important.
So what if they don't check all those boxes?
It's okay.
Okay. It's not a deal breaker.
No, I mean, if they check 0 boxes, then I'm not gonna.
Right. For sure.
Yeah, but I mean, like, yeah, I mean, but those are things where, I think you get to this point where like you're in this partnership and you want to have sort of the same things, the same like outlook for goals for your future.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like, okay, well, where do you start?
Right.
Where are you at? I mean, but I think it all comes down to communicating and to being aware of your attachment style.
Yeah, for sure. And now, while all this is good to recognize, we also have to make sure that we don't use it as a crutch either.
Yeah.
And I think this is where we consume so much information and we're looking for these labels to explain why we are the way we are, but then we don't do anything with them.
Yeah.
Because attachment styles they're not a life sentence, right?
No.
It's not something that you have to be attached to for the rest of your life, right?
Yeah. No pun intended.
Right. And then you look at the flip side is when you bring somebody in, like your attachment styles can actually even adapt to the environment you're in.
Absolutely.
Like you can be super anxious, but then you meet somebody who's anxious and then you might be like really avoidant and you're like, I don't, no, we cannot do this.
Exactly.
So I mean, it's not like when we talk about it, like I said, it's good to have a general concept, but don't box yourself in either. So I think, again, there's so much damn information out there, and all of us that are doing the work to heal, to figure ourselves out, we continue to want to consume information so we can figure out more about us. But then it's like, well, you've kind of got to put it into play. Otherwise, you don't really truly know. And this is part of the reason why it took me so long to date, even because I was like, I don't know what I look like now in another relationship, because I've been doing my work on myself for so long that alone for the most part for so long, just like, oh shit, Now
Yeah.
we're dusting it off. Now it's coming back to the surface. Now it's like, are you aware enough of how to handle this? Because
Yeah.
now you know, now you can handle. So what are you going to do?
What's next? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What's next?
What's next?
Right. And, you know, the great thing about him is he called me out, which I didn't expect that. And I didn't expect that epiphany. Like, I was just like, huh, I'm a relationship bully. I'm kind of an asshole. Like, this is about me. I kept making it about me.
Yeah, I remember you were talking to me about it. I mean,
Yeah.
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 It's
So,
tough to be called out,
mhm.
but we have to remember it's not always about us,
I know.
right?
Right. But then we think we're experts and we think that
But we're
we know all
not.
this stuff. I know,
But
but
we're not.
I
No one
know.
is, I don't think.
No, not at all. But you bring someone, again, we talk about these levels. We're at a level 8. You bring
Yeah.
somebody in who's a level 4 and you want to have a relationship with this person. So you think you know the best way to guide them.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Like, it has to be there. She's like, asshole.
Put a muzzle on you, kid.
It's amazing.
Sorry,
Yeah.
kid.
So, I mean, yeah. So what is that? So now where do you go from there? Like,
Me?
yeah, as far as like, are you wanting something now, or are you just trying to figure yourself out and then
I think
you'll get through?
personally, I think I'm figuring myself out right now with the transition.
Mhm.
Sorry, Aspen's not a fan of my transition, I don't think. So no, but I'm figuring myself out. I mean, I know the person that I am. I know that what I have to offer. But I think I have to feel confident in myself completely. And but I do think that I would be welcome to a relationship. But I have different views on what I would want that to be now. I want to be able to lay on a couch and read a book together. Not together, but like separate books. I want to listen to a podcast and talk about it.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to do the things that excite me and challenge myself and my partner into doing better in our relationships, So I think that's where I go.
Yeah. For sure. Oh, and that gets tough too. Like, your partner doesn't necessarily have to like everything that you like, right? Um, but as long as they respect what you like and what you enjoy doing, and they can somewhat partake in it, or at least
Try to adapt in a
right,
way.
right. Yeah. So I know, and that gets crazy too. It's like we check these boxes. It's like we want all these characteristics and attributes of our partners, but what if we're actually missing some things that we didn't know that we could like, because we're sitting here with this list instead of just being open.
Yeah. I think that's where it's got to start. You got to be more open.
Yeah.
Like maybe I might date somebody that I'm not normally.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying is that, yeah, like, okay, they're a little bit different than me, but they like the way I think. They like that, I'm at this level. They like my openness, because that's an invitation for them too.
Of course.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's all going to be good, whatever happens
Right.
for the
I
both
know.
of us.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's all about letting go and letting life um, do what it's going to do.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else you wanted to mention about avoidant? Because I know you said you had notes. So, I know there's more stuff you've got to be.
Well, I mean, no, if I just go back to like thinking back to my past relationships, it's like the same scenarios, just different partners. It's like,
Mhm.
what am I learning from those relationships? Like,
Mhm.
what is causing me to be avoidant and to continue to be avoidant? It's just, but I think what it was just crazy when I was thinking about the fact that it was right before he hopped on the call and I was finishing up some notes and I thought, oh my gosh, I used to be so anxious
Mm,
because I was never the top choice. Like
mhm.
you want to be chosen. Like we
Yeah.
all want to be chosen, right?
Mhm.
Um, and that's a really difficult thing to go through when you're perfect for the time being, but you're not
Mhm.
perfect for the long haul.
Long haul. Yeah.
Somebody else comes in and it's like peace,
Yeah.
it's like, all right, well, here I am. And then you start to like, when you talk about like you going through the anxious part of it all, like, is it me? Like, what happened? Did they find someone? It's like you internalize your own
Oh,
shit and you're like,
yeah.
why aren't I good enough?
Mhm. Why
What
am
makes
I
me
not
different?
worthy? Yep.
I know I have this to offer. I know I have that to
Yep.
offer, you
Yep.
know? So I'm done. But, like things like that. I mean, I think that changes a lot of things for me now.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but this opened up a lot of like, I
Mhm.
guess I've got a lot of wounds I gotta,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah. And knowing your attachment style, knowing how you show up, um, it's it's only half the battle. The other half of the battle is now what do you do with that knowledge? Like you
yeah,
said, there's wounds there. Why do I push them away? Why do I get anxious? I mean, you know, and how can I take what I know about myself and my attachment styles and try to find ways to soothe myself? Like, I know that, and I told you this, I think last week. I haven't done it this week because it's just been too busy. But last week, it was pretty intense. My anxiety and just being anxious and overthinking and everything. And I finally jumped on my bike again and I just started
that's
taking
so
rides.
good.
Yeah, and it was reinvesting in myself. It was finding something to soothe myself, and physical activity does that for me. Whether it's the gym, whether it's
Yeah,
bike riding, roller skating, whatever it is, like I need to be moving, and that moves the energy that's inside of me, and then it's like, okay, this isn't so bad. And I
yeah.
can, switch lenses, perspectives, and be like, okay, remember, he said it's not always about me, right? Not always
I'm
about
gonna
me.
make this about me and
Right.
bike ride.
Right. Exactly.
Feel good.
Yeah. And so it's figuring out what makes you feel good. And I don't want anybody to get to the point where they're avoiding what they're feeling,
Yeah.
but I want you to be able to recognize what you're feeling and reinvest in yourself. Not push it down, not push it away, still allow it to come up.
Sit with it.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you have to move somehow, if you have to move that energy somehow, do it. Do it.
Yeah. I agree with you completely. I mean, just, you know, I was feeling funky, 2 weeks ago?
Mhm.
Was in that rut for a whole week.
Yeah.
Took on, going to the gym and taking Aspen for these long walks. I mean, catching these beautiful sunsets. It's like,
Mhm.
why do you have like I always say to myself, like, why do you concentrate on something that's so like won't even matter maybe as much
Yeah.
in a week or a month or a year? Like,
Yeah.
take what you've got and like just live through it.
For
And
sure.
I'm a big fan of sitting with myself. It
Mm.
hurts. Like, talked to an old friend today who just went through a breakup.
Mm.
She's struggling pretty bad. And I told her it's like one step at a time.
Yeah.
You gotta sit with it, you gotta feel it.
Yep. Yeah.
And then you gotta figure out what the next step is. You don't have to
Mhm.
have it all figured out,
Nope.
you know, but you gotta
Mm-mm.
start with taking care of yourself.
Mhm. Yep. Absolutely. Because if you don't, you're gonna start repeating those same
Repeated
patterns.
cycles, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Gosh, talk about heartache and
Mhm.
discomfort. Nobody wants that discomfort.
Yeah. And we've done it for years already. It's like sometimes that discomfort is comfortable because it's known,
Yes,
but then it's like, well, you're gonna be in the same spot in a couple months. What would you rather do? Go through the pain now
yeah.
or just
Yeah,
continue
it's
to,
like weighing, like,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So, and I'm going to plug us, but like that's where coaches can come in, that they can take you from where you are now and to where you want to be. Like
absolutely.
where do you want to be? Do you want to be past this limiting belief, these negative thoughts? I mean, obviously, as coaches, even we have them,
Yeah,
but it's tools and it's support and it's a relational home to put things in, to feel understood. And
or
that's
you
what,
probably haven't felt that way before.
right. And that's what coaches can do. And,
Yeah.
therapy's good too, because that can unpack a lot of shit as well. But, therapy doesn't work for some people. Some
Hmm.
people are more of like, I feel better with a coach. And, I know um, John Kim even talks about it, like the angry therapist. He's like, I'm a therapist, but I enjoyed the coaching aspect more. That's
Yeah,
why he got into coaching more. So, I mean, again, teach their own, whatever works for you, but you know, don't don't think that just because coaches aren't therapists that they can't get you to where you want to be.
because I mean, you've seen some success stories.
Mhm.
I mean, they're just even, you and I mean, I feel like I've grown so much
Mhm.
having you um in my life and sharing sessions together and you know,
Yeah, agreed. 100%. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, you take me to a different level. You help me see like things that I didn't maybe see there before or didn't even try to attempt. Like,
Mhm.
and so I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah, and likewise. And that's another piece of coaching is that we have this stuff in us already. The coach just kind of digs and like pokes at it and it's like it's right there. It's right there. And you're like, "Oh,
There it
oh,
is.
there it is. It's been there all along."
Yeah.
Which it was sleeping. It was
Yeah.
dormant.
Night night. Yeah.
Yeah. Hibernation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah. So, anyway, as you guys all know, that we're both coaches. So, I deal more in the divorce space, but I also deal in relationships as well, before, after. Um, and I mean, we're both life coaches. So, is life, right?
Life is life. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm more focused with experimentation and
Hmm.
confidence within um, you know, the LGBTQ plus community. You know, but I think that I mean I there's so many different topics that you can touch on,
Oh, yeah.
and if we don't have the answer, if we're not the right fit, we, you know, would
We
say,
have
"Oh, I know this person."
we have a roster of coaches
Yes.
underneath our belt just
It's
waiting. Just the Rolodex. Just
Yeah,
just get it out.
absolutely. Oh, there was the crack. Sorry.
It's okay. Again, it's raw.
It's a
Whatever.
shit show. Whatever.
Yeah. So anyway, anything else you want to share on attachment styles?
No, I just think that it's really important that you know your attachment style and that you're able to communicate it with your partner to where you guys can meet, and have that common ground of understanding the other.
And there's
It's just so important.
right. And that communication style is super important too. Like,
Yeah.
you don't ever want to come at your partner defensive. Like, this is what I need you to do for me. No, it's an invitation. It's a conversation that invites them to be curious about who you are and why you attach the way you do and what they can possibly do to help you. Right? So not only support, but hey,
Self-awareness too.
right. Yeah, that too. Absolutely. So yeah, well, this has been a really good conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I really think that you touched on something earlier, and you said the way our brain works. And I really think that would be a fun topic to touch on as well at some point, because like we learned and like we all know because we live it, is that our brain is wired for negativity, right? That's
absolutely
the go-to. So
yeah.
That would be interesting to touch on at some point.
Talk about the shifts that you could make to change the serotonin and yeah,
for sure. So
I think it would be great. Should be our next topic.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And I just want to invite everybody too, that whoever watches this, if there's any topic that you would like us to touch on, just leave it in the comments. And we can see how we can roll that into something. So, but yeah, thanks for being here. And I appreciate
Thank you.
The conversations, the ongoing IG conversations we always have.
Yeah.
And
every day. Starts at like 6 a.m.
Oh my God, look at this. Yeah.
I love it. And then we throw in the random good morning.
Yes.
Like, hey, text in.
Hey, hope you're okay, but here's all the shit.
Yeah. Here's all my shit first. What did you eat lunch today? Okay, good. No. I'm just kidding.
Great. All right, we're gonna hop off here now, and I guess we will see you guys next time around.
Thanks. See you next time. Thank you.